through the program, we do have timelines that's been established by Congress. And Congress has driven the Triple P program from the beginning, back in March 27th when the president signed the bill for the CARES Act, and then subsequently other bills passed considered the FLEX Act and all that. The bars will submit the forgiveness application. There's only two application forms currently, the 3508 and the 3508EZ. And when I seen that, I was a little like, what's all that? You got to remember this thing is run through the Treasury, which is the IRS. So substitute 1040 and 1040EZ. There you go. We're dealing with the Treasury and the IRS. So that's why they come out with these forms, because they're the leading agency on this. We're just implementing it for them, the program. Lenders will receive your application. They'll review it and issue to both the bar and SBA decision on the loan forgiveness. The lender issues its decision to the SBA and requests payments if applicable. So your lender's going to get your application. They'll look it over with you. They're going to talk to you, and they're going to say, okay, we're going to forgive the full forgiveness. We're going to recommend the full forgiveness. They're going to let us know. That timeline over here on the side is 60 days. They have 60 days from time they receive the application and start the process. Once SBA gets it, we have a 90-day thing. Some people say, well, that's a long time. You got to remember there's about 6 million of your closest friends that are applying for forgiveness at the same time. So we're going to need a little time to get through most of them. But the max is 150 days. I'm going to start with the EZ form, the 3508 EZ form application. In it, there's going to be some highlights through the section, but in the instructions on the EZ form that comes with the instructions and the form, at the top of the instructions, you must check one of 3 boxes to be able to use the 3508 EZ. I'm going to go out on a limb today and say probably 90% of all PPP loans can use the EZ form. And if you can use it, use it. Don't try to use the long form. So do not submit the checklist with your SBA form too. We've had several questions about that in the past. When you fill out the instruction thing, you check one of the boxes, they go, well, do I need to provide that? No, you do not. That being said, here's some of the check boxes that you'll encounter. Is the bar self-employed individual, independent contractor? And this all basically goes back. Now, the SBA form 2483 is the bar's application form. And I'm going to be referring back to that several times today, but that form, if you didn't keep a copy of it, your lender would probably be happy to give you a copy, but you need to mirror the same information on your application as you do on your forgiveness application. The second box is talking about the bar did not reduce the salary or hourly wages of employees. So if you didn't do any of that, you can check that box, and the bar did not reduce the number of employees. So there's your second box on your questions. The third box is the back. Again, does not reduce the salary and everything, January 1, and employees, and the bar was unable to operate during the covered period at the same level of business activities for February 15th due to compliances with required established guidance issued between March and December by the Secretary of Health and Human Services or the Director of Center of Disease Control and Prevention. Excuse me, it's a lot there. So those are your 3 boxes. That's what you're going to be checking off of. If you check one of the 3 boxes, you can fill out the EZ form. Starting into the EZ form, again, like I just said earlier, you want to enter the same information that you did on your application for the PPP loan. And this is a screenshot at the very top of the EZ form. Yes, I have Mike McWhorter LLC in there in the address and obviously fake EIN numbers. But it's just to show you that you fill it out. It's just simple. There's no hidden tricks in there, so it's going to be easy. You want to be sure and put your email address in there too. Guys, when this program started, we was asking for email, and a lot of people left them off. It's a lot easier for us to communicate as an agency with you through email. So please provide your email address on the application, even if you didn't put it on the original. Now we come in here, and it's because this is the information right below that tab that you just filled in all your information. The SBA PPP loan number. Again, I highlighted about the lender. If you don't know what your PPP loan number was, you can get it from the bank. They'll be happy to give that to you. And there's 2 numbers. There's an SBA number and a lender's PPP number. Now, the SBA number is going to be a total of 10 digits. And sometimes it comes out with a dash with the 2 digits at the end. You just put them all 10 together. You don't have to put the dash in there. Then the lender's number will be the lender's number. Then you want to input the amount of the PPP loan you received. If you received $45,000, that's the number you'd put in there. And the date the loan was disbursement. All right, so that's the time that you got the money put into your account. That's closing. Some people know it as that. That's the day that you receive the funds, is the date that goes in there. In my scenario, I had 3 employees, and I had 3 employees at the time of forgiveness. I made mine a little simple, but it's just for instruction purpose. Right below that, the next screenshot, is a part that has caused a lot of heartburn or a little bit of misunderstanding. The EIDL advance amount is the borrower received the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, or EIDL, or EIDL advance. This is the portion you can interchange advance for grants, because it's been called both. Now, the EIDL grant or advance was given to businesses who applied for EIDL loans in the beginning, and they basically came down and said they give you $1,000 for each employee. Now, if you are, like I had 3 employees, I got $3,000. Now, I also received the EIDL loan from the SBA. It was $4,263. I don't put that in there. We're not talking about the loan. We're only talking about the advance, the grant. It should equal $1,000 per employee that you have. If you're a sole prop, that'd be $1,000 because you just have 1 employee yourself. Then the EIDL application number, that's the number you received on the email from the application that you were getting the funds dropped into your account. If you don't have that, there is a service email that you can send off to be in your paperwork and get it. But you'll need that to cross-reference over the loan application. Now, payroll schedule is the next part, is frequency of which payroll happens. Somehow I end up with 2 checks there, but you can, whatever your payroll is, that's what it is. A lot of self-employed people, I realize you take money as you need on a Schedule C business, you know. If business is a little slow, okay, well, we're eating, barbecue beans and hot dogs this week, honey. We're not going to be eating, filet mignon. I understand that you take money as you need it usually, but in this program, put down something that you're paying yourself. Again, if you're a sole prop, the thing that normally is going to happen is they're going to put that money, and if you have a personal bank account and that's all you run your business through, then that money came into your personal checking account. So I would just check monthly or other, and I would just have my 2 months bank statements to show that I got some money come in and I spent some money. Now, you don't have to spend all the money on a sole prop. We're not requiring you to go out and spend every penny. We're only requiring you to show the funds were used. If you had a business account and they put the money in there, hopefully you wrote yourself a check, is what the lender should have told you. If you wrote 1 check, okay, put other, just say you paid yourself 1 lump sum. But whatever you did, put it in there. If you have payroll and you pay weekly, bi-weekly, whatever, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. But I want to cover the self-employed because that's confusing, because I don't pay myself bi-weekly. I just take money as I need it. We understand. Now, the covered period. This comes up to a lot of questions too. After the Flex Act was passed and the president signed it, they extended the 8 weeks to 24 weeks on the PPP program from the date of disbursement. The borrower that receives a PPP loan before June 5th, the borrower may elect to use the 8 weeks covered period, or he may elect to take the 24. Basically what that's saying is if you received your loan after June 5th, you're automatically in the 24-week period. Now, being in the 24-week period does not mean you have to go 24 weeks to spend the money. If you spend or deplete the funds within 12 weeks, 14 weeks, 13 weeks, 10 weeks, you have to use the fund over 8-week period minimum, but you can use the funds up. And once they're depleted, then game on, we can start applying for forgiveness. So I wanted to show you both of those as it is. And when it says weeks, you don't just go from, I didn't go from April 15th to July 15th because I think, well, that's 2 months. It's actually count the weeks. So you have to actually count the weeks. All right. Highlighted here about the $2 million. Check here. Yes, there will be people who have $2 million or plus loans that can use the EZ form. If none of their employees change, if you remember back on the 3 boxes, they can check it and use it. For our purposes, most people won't be checking that box. Alternative payroll coverage period. Here I'm going to talk about the 24 weeks, which I just talked a little bit about, and explain to you how the the borrower must apply the funds during the covered period. So if you do like the 24 weeks, alternative payroll, and this is for people that were approved before June 5th. People who are approved on June 5th or later will automatically set up for 24 weeks. You can put it in there, and the borrower elects to use it. That's fine. We're not going to penalize you if you got a loan back in April and you want to use the 24 weeks because you didn't. 8 weeks wasn't enough. We understand it's troubling times, and you're closed, you're open, you're closed, you're open. You're trying to figure out what to do. So don't worry too much about that. And I'm going to skip by this. Apparently my computer is going the other way. All right, here we are. This right here is going to tell me about the summary of eligibility of cost. Line 1 is going to be the total eligible payroll cost incurred and paid during the covered period, or the alternative payroll covered period. Again, the 8 weeks, 24, 12, 14. So on line 1, you're going to put down how much payroll you paid. On that is for employees, and it breaks it all down here. If you paid for your employees' health insurance, self-insured, sponsored group health plans, any kind of contribution you do to retirement plans. Basically, if you have employees and you're filling out their payroll, whatever you pay them and whatever you participate in helping, a lot of employers pay part of their health insurance and stuff. And then you also have your taxes you have to pay as an employer. So all that adds together, and that's your payroll. So the compensation you're going to enter in there is going to be the amount of money that you paid. So I've got a payroll cost of my $45,000 loan. I spent $38,700. I want to stop right here just a second too and explain something. With the Flex Acts being signed after June 7th or June 5th, they decreased or increased, however you want to look at it. They decreased the amount of money that has to go to wages to 60% from 75%. Now that decrease is the minimum that you have to spend on wages in order to get forgiveness. So you have to spend at least 60% of your PPP loan for wages. Guys, if you spend 100% on wages, great. That was the original intent of the original bill from the CARES Act back in March, was to help you make your payroll. It was not about making rent payments and all that. That came in subsequently after that and through the Treasury. So if you spend 100% of your money of your PPP loan on wages, just put that number in there, because a lot of sole props won't have business mortgage insurance payment. On line 2, that is the mortgage interest on commercial property you own for your business. That is not your home mortgage because you operate out of your home. That is not acceptable. Business rent and lease payments. Okay, if you rent a brick and mortar place, you can use your rent in there. If you have a lease payment that you have on equipment that you use for your employees to perform their job, you can use that in there. So that would go in there as well. Again, if you operate out of your house, you can't take off part of your utilities. You can't take off the part of the insurance for the house, whatever. Business utility payments. That's pretty self-explanatory, except for one thing in there. It talked about transmission or transportation. The transportation is an act that happened in the 1994-98. I may have the dates wrong there. But Congress allowed utility companies to charge transportation fees to their end user. That is what that's in there, because the utility company still wanted to be sure they got paid their transportation fees. So when it says that you can deduct your cost of transportation, that's your utility bill. And if you live in a state that has that, it will be on your utility bill down there, one of those 18 different other things they charge us tax and service for on. So basically, if you get a utility bill, electric bill or gas bill or water bill, that total amount during that period covered, 10 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever it was, you can add that number in there. So I've got all that in there, and we're going to come down here, and well, this thing got doubled up again. Here it is again. I'm basically talking about, how embarrassing. Enter the amount of the business rent and lease payments were paid. See how that comes in there, line 3 that I was talking about, line 4. And for lines 2 and 4 are not required to report payment that you do not want to include in the forgiveness amount. So if you've spent $100 or 100% of your money on line 1, then you don't have to put in the other 2, 3, and 4. You don't have to list them. Lines 5 right here is basically the total of lines 1, 2, 3, and 4. Mine just happened to total up to $45,000. If that number totals up to be more than your loan amount, that's okay. That's not a bad thing. Line 6 is my PPP loan amount, $45,000. Line 7, here's a little trouble right here. A lot of people want to multiply line 1, which I'm gonna go back real quick, is 38,700. They want to multiply that times 60%, but it's divided by 60, you get 64,500. That is correct. Because when you look at line 8 forgiveness amount is entered the smallest of line 5, 6, and 7. Again, the 60% is the minimum that you have to spend on wages. So if I'd spent 100% of that, that number is going to be, $90,000, right at 78,000 something. So that number, line 7, could be a lot higher than your actual loan amount, and that's okay, because you're dividing what you actually spent on line 1. Here it is all together, and I just wanted to show you how it all flows down through there. So we take the 38,700, the 4,000, the 2,300, we add them together, that's $45,000. Then we take the PPP loan amount that we entered at the top of the application, the $45,000. And I can't stress the line 7. That's divided by 60%, gives you the 64,500. And then we're going to enter the smallest number on line 8. As that sets right there, I'm asking, and I'm stating that I have spent 100% of my PPP funds for payroll, wages, and expenses. And therefore, I should have 100% forgiveness based on that. This right here, it just shows you again the full page of what we just went through. And I want you to see it so you can sort of get an idea of when we went through the numbers. See my PP loan amount up here for $45,000 translated down here to line 6. All right, this is it, fully all the way through. On page 2 of the easy application, I'm sorry you can't maybe read it exactly, but I had to work with what I had to. I had to squash up stuff to get in there. Now, every one of these lines here, you're just going to initial, and the biggest thing I wanted to highlight up there, that you are making the following presentation of the certification of the loan information. So by signing this, it's like